All right, now that we've got our base in place down here, and we put in our edgers. So the reason we went with this, we wanted to tie our fire pit in with what we're doing here with the whole deck and coming down in. Otherwise, what we could have done is just use this sandstone, but it would just be like two separate deals. So we're using the brick to help tie them both together. And now, once you lay these, just run a string line down and get a straight line on each side, and then you come to the ends. And what you're going to want to do is just kind of swoop out on the ends. It makes it more inviting as you come off your steps onto this, and we do the same thing down on the other end. Okay, so now I'm onto my final brick, and once you get up here, I'm just going to show you real quick how to cut one of these things, or the way I do it anyway. I lay this up, and I make sure I match up on the back side of this, and I know right where my concrete is here, so I'm going to make a mark here, and I'm going to make a mark here, and that's going to be my bad spot. So now we'll just cut this off quick. Piece in, fits perfectly, and now that's the end of that. One thing I was going to tell you about the saw, we use a wet saw now. When we started out, we used a dry cutting saw, and aside from all the extra dust, those blades heat up a lot when you don't have that extra water on there. Water makes a better cut, cuts down on your dust, and it also keeps your blade cool, so you don't, a lot less chance of warping that blade on there, okay? The other thing you want to remember, now these chop saws are very dangerous things. I actually had a blade come right off of these one time on me, and you know, you're looking at it and you're lining up your brick, and I flipped the switch, and all of a sudden she was really getting up there in the RPMs. I started to cut the brick. I saw something fly out the side. It ended up being the bolt that holds that blade on, and it was my own fault because we were doing a huge job and I just wasn't paying attention. And I should have made sure it was tightened every day before you use that saw, because that thing is a killer. Okay, well, now that we have, you can kind of see behind us what we're doing here with the sandstone. What you do when you put these in, we throw our base in first and we just leave it nice and loose. Now we know this is good limestone screenings we use for a base. We use that because it compacts hard and whatnot, and it's just a good firm base for everything. So then it's like putting together pieces of puzzle. You know, you just kind of look and see what it fit. You might have to trim off a little with a hammer, knock it off here and there to make things fit. But then what you want to do is lay them in place and just wiggle them down so that they're nice and level, so they don't tip up anywhere. You want them to be nice and sturdy, okay? The other thing, like this one, it's down a little bit from this brick, so I'll bring in a little more base in here and set it. Ta-da! That one's done. Move on to the next one. So find another spot where you think it's going to look good. Set it in here, and I can see that it's high. So I'm going to take some of this out. Alright. Just like that. And then what you want to do is you want to make sure when we get up here that we're nice and level with your approach. You don't want any little trippers up here where you're going to catch your foot on the rock and trip, especially if you have little kids at these houses, which this one in particular does have. So anyway, that's how you put in your sandstone base. And then what we're going to do afterwards, or put in your sandstones, afterwards we're going to come in and we're going to fill in all these joints, and that's going to be with the same thing, using the limestone screenings, where we're just going to come in like this, level them off, and then we'll sweep off the rocks after we're done. And that helps fill in these joints, and it'll help sturdy everything up, and then we'll water it all down really good, and that helps pack it. So, and then we'll be done. Alright, as you can see, now we've got all our sandstone laid and leveled. Now what you want to do is you want to take typical garden hose, water this stuff down, and just give it a nice gentle soaking. What we're trying to do is to get this stuff to soak right in and pack tight around the brick. by putting this water on there, that'll help us, helps anything pack better if it's moist, you know. And then we'll let this dry, and after it's dry, we'll come and sweep off the tops of all of our rocks. And today, we are going to be working on what's called a seat wall. So what I'm going to do is show you how I do it with these concrete blocks, and you'll get an understanding of it. Everything gets glued together. You got to have a chop saw like this. You have your standard blocks like this. And the first thing you want to do is cut these blocks in half. Okay? And I'll show you why I'm doing that. So I'll take this finished block. We'll come over here. Alright. Now you lay them both like that because you have a finished side here, and then you have a finished side on the other side. And then what we'll do is we'll take a cap when we're done. I'm going to make this too high. We'll take a cap that goes over the top so you have a finished look all the way around the brick. Alright, I want to show you this brick, but you're in the wrong position, so you need to come over here. So what we're going to do is we're going to cut all this off. This is all going to be wasted right here, because we want to keep this face on our brick. So I'm going to cut this off right here. I'm going to flip it over, cut the other part off. Then when we throw it together, we should have a 2-inch overhang all the way around the brick, which I'll show you in a little while. You should also have earplugs. So basically, if we start out here, we'll have one here, and then we'll have another one right behind it doing the same thing, and then our cap will go over the top, but we'll have these two high. So okay, today we're going to work on our seat wall, and what it is, what we did yesterday, we took all the blocks, we cut them in half. That way we have a rough face on this side. All right, if you go around to the back, you can see we also have a rough face on this side. And then we just took a cap, flipped it up on the ends to kind of cover that and make it look better. So now what we're going to do is put our caps on the top. And by doing that, I want to make sure that I have a few inches overhang all the way around this block just for decorative purposes. And then you line up your next block and try and keep the same width out on this. Now you got a gap right here, which is about 3.5 inches, okay? So you got about 3.5 inches, so I'm going to take 1.75 inches off of both of these. We'll make our cuts so they fit together. So I'll show you that in just a minute. Alright, so we cut 1.5 inches off of these on each side, so let's see if it falls into place now. See how we did that? So we cut it off the front, and now it just paired them right back up together. So now if I take my next brick and we put this on, butt it up tight, make sure you got the same distance. I just kind of measure it with my fingers as I butt up against the wall here. So now we're going to have, you literally end up cutting all but this end brick, each one of these twice. So right here looks like we have 1.5 inches. So we're going to cut each one 3/4 of an inch and take it off the face. And when I say take that off, you take it right to the point, right here, okay? So I'm going to take it from 3/4 of an inch right to this point, 3/4 of an inch right to that point. Alright, now that we've got all of our caps cut, this is the final touch to the entire project here, is to glue these in place. Now we glued every block underneath these yesterday, and now today just pull off each one at a time. Make sure when you put your glue down here that you don't get too close to the edge, because once you put that brick on top of this, that glue is going to squirt out and it can run down your edges. So keep it to the inside. much as possible. Make sure you put a bunch on there. Alright, then take your brick, gently set it in place, line it back up, and then move on to your next brick. Alright, so now we've taken and glued all the caps in place. One more little trick that I want to share with you here. If you ever get a patio that isn't picture perfect, which none of them are, I mean, you can level these things till you're blue in the face, but there's always going to be something that's off the least bit. When you start putting these together, if these joints don't match up perfectly, if they're not level, what you can do is break off a piece of shingles. Now, this is an old trick that was taught to me by a gentleman that worked for a major brick company. You know, you get these 30-year shingles, and you just break this off, raise up whatever corner isn't working, and you can slide this right underneath. So basically it's a shim is what it is. They're thin enough you can add 1, 2, whatever you have to, plus they'll last forever because, you know, they're shingles. Okay, so just a little trick to help you out. Okay, well, we finally finished up our project, so you can have a look at it. This is how the walkway turned out, your sandstone walkway. Looks pretty nice, I think. And the brick border on the edges, that really ties everything together, I think, and blends it into the patio really nice. And then also on the edges, I wanted to show you that we've had questions before about this, but what do you do on the edge of all of this stuff? Well, this is what we do. We either seed this, which is what we've done, put some topsoil down, grade it down nice, pitch it away, and then taper it into the lawn and then seed it, or you could lay sod over. You could put some dirt here and lay some sod over. Then you'd have an instant finished product, okay? So let's step out to the patio. We'll show you how that turned out. All right, so I think that turned out really nice, and we've got the hardened joint sand in the middle, so keep the ants from pulling everything out. Our seat wall's finished and complete. Now the family can come out here, sit here around a fire and enjoy themselves. So hopefully this video has been beneficial to you and helped you out a little bit, and if it has, that's great. We'll see you next time.